Good day, everyone. Welcome to this online seminar of IRGIB Africa University. My name is Segla Romaric. I am the moderator of this section. And today we're going to talk about the use of disinformation during crisis periods. Here is the agenda of the day. As I told you earlier, we have two rooms today. We have both English and French room. If you can hear me, that means you've been successfully accepted in the English room. Today's speaker is Engineer Aristotle Gangeto. He's a member of the Polytechnic Network of Universities and an award winner of Tokyo. Good day, everyone. My name is Aristotle Gangeto. Today, we are going to talk about the use of disinformation during crisis period. The use of truth during crisis period is becoming more and more difficult. Disinformation is generally used to designate the deliberate use of fake news in a view to causing prejudice to a person or an organization. The disinformation campaigns get more and more frequent during the crisis times. They are used in order to distort public opinion. It's important for us to go through a certain number of notions, such as information, in order to understand what we're talking about. What is an information? An information in law is seen as a set of data resulting from investigation as a proof in order to discover then, according to the dictionary, an information is an event, any facts, any judgment brought to the attention of more or less wide public in the form of image, text, or speech. But in In, in our context here, it can be seen as the set of parameters that are used in real situation in order to manipulate communication. What's the role of an information? An information allows us to understand the environment, to help in decision making, to coordinate an activity, or to communicate internally or externally. It has three criteria: reliability, relevancy, and its up-to-date feature. Why the information is supposed to be reliable? It has to be reliable because the source of the information must be credible. The source of the information must be credible. What's communication, as we were talking about? Communication is the set of interaction within an institution, within a company, and it is defined as all the techniques and means used in order to present its product, service, or its activities. So as I was saying earlier, communication is the use of information, the manipulation of information. Let's make a little difference between information and communication. At the level of information, we have transmission, we have the data, the material, and the facts, whereas at the level of communication, we have exchange, we have the meaning conveying, the dialogue, and the acknowledgement. In one word, in information, we have the content, whereas in communication, we have the relationship. What is the strategy? It is the way of developing, directing, and coordinating plans of action in order to achieve a specific objective programmed in short or long term. Since the goal is to avoid visual piloting, a good strategy must be applied in order to bring positive results. When we're talking about strategy, in the situation of communication, we in politics we will talk about lobbying. Lobbying or interest representation is the act of legally attempting to influence the action, policies, or decision of a government official, legislator, or regulator. In business, it is a strategy that is used in order to put pressure, to pressurize, in order to influence the decision. Looking at this diagram, you will see at the top you have the stakeholders, at the bottom you have the decision makers, the political leaders, and on either side you have the public opinion and the media. So the stakeholders, they use the media in order to influence the public leaders, in order to impact, to make an action on the public leaders in order to impact their decision. What do we mean by public opinion? Public opinion is a set of conviction, value, judgment, belief that is more or less shared among the population, among a given population of a society. We have three different forms of information. Basically, you have two different forms of information, but the meanings are slightly different. Disinformation is the spread of fake news, and the person using disinformation practice is intentional, whereas misinformation is the use of a fake news not intentionally. The one using it has the impression it thinks it is true, whereas the misinformation, the second meaning of misinformation has two meanings. The first one is the person is intentional about the use of the info, does not know that the information is wrong, whereas the second one, the one using the information is intentional about the use of such information. It is used in the view to harming the someone. So the fake news is deliberately spread and is used accidentally by people hearing it, and the damage is done using so let's for example take the example of someone who's browsing through the social media, received a fake news. The person spreading such a fake news is intentional about the information he's sending. He knows he has his own agenda. The person who received the information shared that information without considering whether it is reliable, if it is true or not. That is why we talk about intentional or deliberate promotion of an accidental a fake a fake news. What is the objective of disinformation? You must have understood that it is to deliberately spread fake news by making it appear as coming from a neutral or a friendly source in order to influence an opinion or to weaken an adversary or to settle a situation. Now, according to Vladimir Vodkov, the Russian writer, it is the manipulation of the public opinion for political purposes with information processed by devious means. What is a crisis situation? According to Lawrence Kamberberg, a crisis negotiator, a crisis is characterized by a situation that goes beyond the usual framework of known accidents, with the need to make urgent strategic and organizational decisions. The stake appears to be exorbitant, multiple, and for most parts only becomes apparent over time. In this sense, crisis can be theoretical, economical, human, or it can be internal or external. Let's take, for example, a robbery. For example, in the police profession, a robbery is not a crisis because something it happens every day. Someone walking on the road and a thief coming to snatch his bag is not a crisis situation. If such complaint is brought to a police station, it is not yet a crisis. But assuming that the bag that has been snatched contained an information that is vital for the national security, then such an incident can become a crisis. That is where we can talk about terrorism as a crisis situation. How is disinformation deployed? The first step is the planning. The person who is planning it has the right information, he has the good information. And he processed such information through the through the different process, the different information processing. Once he finished manipulating his information, he can send it on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, um, and so on. When you receive that information, you begin to share. You share, you may share, you may like, you may comment, and you do whatever you can do with information. That information, because of such engagement, is amplified. So once that information is amplified, the person or the institution that is attacked by such is in position to rectify or to react in order in the view to restoring the truth. But by so doing, it only generates another flow of information, which might be the right information or wrong information. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some practices of information, disinformation in time of crisis. The first one we're going to talk about is the Persian Gulf, the, the first Persian Gulf War. During that period, there were military maneuvers and fake testimonies. The United States initiated two operations that ended in January 91 because they issued documents that they make available for Saudi Arabia. There was a manipulation of information at that level. What they basically did was to manipulate information in order to generate public acknowledgement for them to enter war. The 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 force of fake testimonies is where the use of disinformation has been very prominent. They formatted everything, every set of information in order to to spread the wrong information among the public. A young lady was made to give the testimony that she saw military men bringing out babies out of their babies from the hospital. They bring them out of their bed, putting them on the floor, and letting them die. And a physician, doctor that confirmed that he was the one that buried those children. And while doing all that, the members of the parliament, listening to those testimonies, they got amplified, their anger got amplified, and they decided they voted the law, I mean, for the US to enter war against Saudi Arabia. And but all these things that we're talking about, it was only found out 20 years later. So it was the New York Times that revealed the information a few years later, and it was revealed that the girl that 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 was selected to make such a fake testimony was only the daughter of one of the the US top officials, and she was she was trained. I mean, she was helped by one of their communication consultancy agencies in the view to manipulating the public opinion. Yeah. When international amnesties, they went on the field. We can also talk about the war in Iraq in 2003. Before they entered that war, the rumor was spread that Saddam Hussein was having massive destruction weapons. But the objective, the maneuver was to justify the war against Iraq. And the end result was when Saddam Hussein was hung. So so it was said that he possessed and he was producing biological weapons, and that some he had some stocks of hazardous gas and biological cells. Let's talk about Ukraine, to war in Ukraine. I I wish to mention here that war in Ukraine did not start in 2022. It started long ago. We have different stages of disinformation. They said there is one they call the Ghost of Kiev. The Ghost of Kiev, the the idea was to broadcast a video or a tape record that said that a Russian it was there were virtual images, virtual videos. I mean, the they were used they were used and spread in order to spread the fake news. It was they call it it is called propaganda. And there is also the Snake Islands incident. The Ukrainian president announced that the the Russian soldiers killed 80 Ukrainian soldiers on the Snake Island. But a few days later, the Russian defense broadcasted the name of 80 soldiers who willingly who willingly resigned. I mean, they how do you put it? They willingly dropped their arms in order not to get killed, and also the emotional farewell. This is a video that was broadcasted, that was shared massively. In the video, we could see a young man saying goodbye to his people in tears, and he was presented as a Ukrainian, whereas he was coming from the Russian part of Ukraine, and it was not during the evacuation, it was rather during it was not during the war, but it was during the evacuation. So it is the battle of information that we witnessed during the manipulation of such information. So it's the same in the same way in the Sub-Saharan part of Africa. Um, Channels such as France 24 and RFE has been shut down for in order to curb this information, to stop the spread of wrong information. Before I go deep into the narrative war in Mali, I want you to understand that Putin is against the Western domination and the current order, the current world order. Putin is seen as the new Italy, the Italy of the modern age, whereas Putin is the one denouncing the spread of NATO towards the West. From Moscow to Peking, we will notice that you could see that NATO established a lot of laboratories for the manipulation and the production of batteries and viruses. And on the ground of security and health protection, the US has a total control over those laboratories. The countries hosting those laboratories don't have any say in the management of those labs. And each country uh, broadcasting their information and the reports based on the facts they gather in the field. Let's talk about the war in Mali. War in Mali is the result of a lot of corruption issues. The Barkhane operation that started in 2014 that ended recently, and many other operations like that. The European Union, the European Union voted about 30 million euros in order to rebuild the Malian army. The crisis in Mali originated from the ashes of the civil war. The the militaries that overthrew the recent government says they do not need any propaganda in order to rule their country. So some few case studies. There are there are websites of disinformation. The website disinformations they generate a huge amount of resources, financial resources, close to $235 million every year. Facebook, for example, shared up to 70 million people's personal information during the United States campaign. It enables the consultancy agencies to send specific content to people in the view to shaping their opinions. Thanks to the artificial intelligence today, you can use someone's voice and his image in order to make him say things that he did not say. It is it is useful. It is feasible. You could see me, you could see the video of somebody, the person will be saying something in the same voice, but it is not that person. It is the most dangerous form of disinformation. Let's talk about some practical cases, some case studies of disinformation. In 2016, the 2016 embezzlement of 2.5 billion euro from business CFO. Now, before the company could could rectify that information, in the space of in the very short time frame, they have already lost about $7 billion. There's another one they call the Dreamer Day of Starbucks in 2017. In 2017, on Twitter, it was said that the Starbucks was going to give to do a free giveaway of frappuccino for all the immigrants, and a lot of immigrants came out to Starbucks thinking they were going to receive such um, such such giveaway, and it was not the case. They were unhappy, and but while Starbucks was trying to rectify the information, it was already late. And also the contamination of salmonella in the Nutella pot in 2018. Well, we have exceeded the time that was given to us. We are at the stage of the question and answer. We believe that we could give more detail during the question and answer section. Okay, so dear participants, we are at the stage of question and answers. If in, in case you have a question, you may raise your hand or you put it in the chat. The first question is, how can I identify false information during crisis period? Okay, you remember we talked about the three characteristics of an information: reliability, up to date, and relevancy. So in order for you to identify whether the information is false or not, you need to ascertain whether the information is coming from the right source, if who is the information profiting. The second question is, how do I get useful information in time of crisis? useful information is at two level, but let's specify that uh, there's no useless information. It depends on what you are using with it, you are using the information for. As the state of the at the level of the states, you you have the government, the official networks, the official source of information. Information coming from those sources are more they are more to be taken into consideration. So when those information are coming from the top, you can take them as coming from the source, such as someone asked how what are the tools to use in order to fight against misinformation. We are not the first ones. In other countries, there are agencies. There are agencies that are specialized in the fight against disinformation. They are the one that could checkmate if the information is accurate, or to identify when the information is stemming in order to counterattack, in order to clean up. But you need also to understand that an information that is fake, that is true a while ago, could appear to be fake some short while afterwards. There are also the legal dispositions, the law, the tribunals, and all in our country today, for example, create that we have, where if there's a misinformation, if you misuse an information, you can be called to answer. In order to succeed in disinformation practice, you need to plan, you need to have a good strategy. There are equipment, there are tools that you can use, such as the ones we enumerated earlier in the presentation. There is need for a global strategy that will give you a logic in your line of action. Another participant is asking, he would like to know how these sessions could be useful to us in our professional life? How can they use the knowledge acquired during the period, during this seminar in a professional life, in a real-time profession? Okay, let's assume that you are in a company and your company is subject to a disinformation, or even that your company is about to practice a disinformation. In this our economic war situation, economic war contest, everyone everyone must be able to caliber the diplomacy uh, between the offense and the defense. And it is good to have the tools. It's good to have the tools for self-defense. In politics, it is rampant. It is rampant, where you have one political party using a disinformation tactic against another one, or two competitors, and a third party trying to disinform, trying to create tension between the two parties. A participant was wondering what are those equipment and tools that we use in order to succeed in manipulating an information. There are softwares that can help you use the voice and the face of another person to say something that you are willing to say. There are there are softwares that we know. softwares that people can use in order to manipulate the image of two or more people, putting two or more people, two protagonists together is a form of disinformation. Okay. Another participant wanted to find out if, owing to all the trends, all the things that are being developed now, if we could say that the normal, I mean, any normal citizen is safe, or could easily get through against disinformation. The answer is no, as a matter of fact. The answer is no, as a matter of fact. The, there are two more questions. The first one was the difference between disinformation and tricks, the use of disinformation and the use of tricks. Whereas, and the second question was, what is the end result of disinformation? When we're talking about what we are talking about disinformation, it is trick. It's already trick. Is using some tricks against another person. So whereas disinformation is also known as the strategy, as a set of strategies. So it is interconnected. And the results, the outcome is to harm somebody. Okay. Someone would like to know if there is any difference between fake news and disinformation, and also if disinformation is useful, if there's any situation in which disinformation an advantage has an advantage for a company. A fake news is not yet disinformation. A fake news is not yet disinformation. It is once you start spreading that fake news with the intention of achieving a particular goal, that it becomes a disinformation. Because the objective of disinformation is to serve your own purpose, while spreading wrong information. Okay. During the presentation, it was said that the use of disinformation is subject to penal law. It means that when you use a disinformation in the view to causing prejudice to somebody, the person is in the position to sue you. And someone wanted to find out if you are in a company that you have you need to use such a disinformation uh, tactic. What are the precautions in order not to get caught? And the answer is that while you want to go into such practice, you must make sure that the source is not easily traceable. Right. Okay, another participant want to find out if disinformation is a crime, or there are times when it can be seen as a legal, as something that is legal or legitimate defense. Recall that I was telling the participant that came before, that asked his question before the last one, that when you are using the practice of disinformation, you must make sure not to be traceable. You shouldn't be traceable. You should not, you should make sure that the source is not identifiable easily. Because when you use fake information, it is penal. The upcoming seminars are on the 26th May, where we are going to discuss about the discourse analysis in the strategic studies workshops. Whereas the one on the 3rd of Friday, the one on Friday 3rd is the dual education as an alternative to youth employability. We're going to share the links with you for the upcoming seminars. The next, as you already know, we have continuous trainings and beyond the free trainings that we are giving now, we we've organized a summer school in July from the 4th to the 8th July. And the general topic is industrial project management. And several aspects are going to be discussed within that summer school in the light of in the framework of industrial projects management. You have a couple of information on the link that is displayed, and the fee is displayed. It's going to last, the summer school is going to last 1 week, and it is online. Shortly at the end of this seminar, we are going to send you this survey, a post-seminar survey, in order to get your point of view. We are done, but we're going to give the floor to Mr. Aristotle to say his closing remarks. We'd like to thank everyone And I hope that we learned something today. And I wish you a great evening. Bye.